Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer. Welcome back to American Truck Simulator. And welcome to Salt Lake City, Utah. We are going to pick up some power generators and we're going to take them to Vernal, which is out eastern part of the state. Let me just confirm before we drive over there to pick them up. Let me just confirm that they're going to be there. 29 hours. I suspect they will still be there. I think we can get there in 29 hours. Right, so we'll fire it up. We are still in our 579 with the Detroit diesel motor at 585 horsepower, and I threw on these cargo container intermodal trailers in tandem. I thought that'd be cool. We'll switch it up. We have so many trailers. What else are you going to do? Right, brake is off. Brake is off. Here we go. We're going to need to get fuel on the way out of town, but we can do that. Right, how's everybody doing? It's Saturday for you. It's Friday for me. I hope you're having a great weekend. If you're in the U.S., hope you're having a great holiday weekend. And what is going on? Well, in gaming, we finally got a release date for Road to the Black Sea. I say finally. You know, I don't mind. Doesn't bother me at all. It's been since May that we've been waiting, but I'd rather they do it right. So very cool. It's going to be next week. I want to say December 5th. Does that sound about right? That's not the kind of confidence you're looking for in an announcement. You want it to be a little more, you know, December 5th. It's either the 5th or the 3rd. It's next week either way. So we're good to go there. That's very cool. And I also saw the Steam Awards are coming up. Man, everybody's got awards. The Steam Awards are coming up, and SCS is nominated for both ATS and ETS. Are nominated for Labor of Love, which is the category for games that are a little bit old but still get attention from the developers. And ironically enough, as much as I go on and on about SCS servicing this game well past its prime, which I truly appreciate, I voted for Spin Tires in that category. And I also saw, this was interesting, it really just pops up games that you own, but you can do a search for any game that's in the Steam system. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like there should be a cutoff, and maybe you couldn't vote for games you don't own, or I don't know, an hour minimum. Like you have to have 50 hours in the game. I don't know. There's different kinds of games. Some games, 50 hours is that's it, man. That's the life of the game. And there's other games like the one we're playing where 50 hours is nothing. So, concentrating. So, hard to say. I know for like film and television and music awards, there's always been this sort of debate about whether or not people can vote in areas outside their area of expertise. Right? Because what happens is people end up voting for things that they've heard of. And that's all they know about them. It's familiar to them. But they know nothing else about it. So for something like the Grammys, you've got people that work in hip-hop voting for like film scores. You got people that work in film scores voting for hip-hop. Neither one of them has any idea what they're voting for. It's just names that they're familiar with. Or on the TV side, you have people that do I don't know, soap operas or something, voting for like sports and vice versa. And there's been this debate about how to make sure people only vote for things that they understand. So in gaming, I mean, where does that leave us as gamers? Do I have the right to vote for a game that I've never played because I like the way it looks? Right? I don't know. I don't know what the right answer for that is. But I did vote for Spin Tires. I think I can't quite call it like the rebirth of Spin Tires, but whatever it was they were going through, they seem to have sorted it out, and they're really having some fun with the game. There's going to be another DLC in just a couple of weeks, Chernobyl. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that is happening, and that got me thinking about Game of the Year. Game of the Year is tricky. When you say Game of the Year, or when I say Game of the Year, I think Game of the Year. Like that's a category. Like that's it. That is its own thing. And that's not the case. There are a bunch of publications that have Game of the Year, and they're all different. Now, very often, it is one game that wins Game of the Year from multiple publications. But you can say your game is Game of the Year. Let's say there's 30 different publications and websites that have a Game of the Year. You only need to win one, and you can say your game was Game of the Year. But then industry journalists and big industry websites sort of combine those and say, well, you know, if of these 30 publications and websites, 25 of them pick the same game for Game of the Year, safe to say that's Game of the Year. But there is no overarching category or one single, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit nebulous. But then that got me looking at the best games in history, best video games in history. And there's a list of them. There's about 100 on there. And it's kind of a Hall of Fame, you know? And it's interesting to read through there and see these games and know that how many of them, or to see how many of them were, I'm coming over, sir. Thank you. To see how many of them were really groundbreaking at the time, and to see them now. I mean, there's the nostalgia aspect for sure, games you played when you were a kid. Some of them you can, I guess, respect the accomplishment to know where the industry was at that time, and so what it means that this game was able to be produced in that time, right? I mean, today we talk about games sort of redefining the genre, but some of these games, it was beyond that. They were like inventing the genre. There was no genre until that game existed and made one. So that's really important. You know, it's easy to do things that other people have done and to do them a little better, but it can be really hard to do something for the first time because you've got no blueprint, you've got no roadmap. So in that way, those games are extraordinary. But some of them, you know, I got Age of Empires HD a while back on Steam, thinking about how many hours I spent playing that game when I was a kid. And yeah, it's definitely an accomplishment, and it's an incredibly well-balanced and well-produced, well-put-together game. But I can't say that it's still fun. At least for me, it's not. And that's the thing. You know, I talk about the intersectionality. Yeah, love that word. I talk about the intersectionality of video games and movies. All right. We're going to be in a pickle here if we have to back up a whole lot. Restricts. Ah, okay. They made us wait. Did you see that? Really had to think about it. How are we doing over here? I feel like we're going into Area 51. What is this place? I don't know. A little uncomfortable. Okay. So the crossover between movies and video games, that it really fascinates me, particularly because video games are becoming more and more cinematic, right? More and more sweeping. And I'm curious how it's all going to end up. I feel at some point, you know this, that we're going to have essentially movies that you play. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. But when you look at important movies of the past 100 years, I think you sort of see the same thing. And for me, I do like film a lot. And I do like, whatever we want to call it, post-new wave, post-avant-garde, post-1950s. Before 1950s, it's difficult for me to get into those kinds of films because the new school of acting, right? Lee Strasberg, the Actors Studio, method acting, it wasn't there yet. People were still acting in movies the way they used to act in plays. Projecting, right? Make them hear you in the back row. You don't necessarily need to do that with movies because microphones hear everything. Cameras see everything. So you don't really need to project that way. And so when I see acting from movies in the 1930s and 1940s, to me, it's just really over the top and hammy. Whoa! What? I assume this is that copper mine. Hang on, we're going third person. What? That is crazy. Unreal. I like the quarries in ATS. This is sort of in that same category, but man, that is vast. I love it. Very, very cool. I'm trying to figure out how to screenshot this. Maybe on the way out we'll try to get a picture. Right. So prior to the 1950s, movies hard for me to get into. They really are, and I understand that they're important, and I understand, the quality and how innovative some of those movies are. And right, I get it, but it's just difficult for me to get into. Maybe if I were more a student of film, maybe film historians. I don't. Maybe some people just like them for what they are. I don't know, but I can't necessarily get there. And I think it's the same way with some of those historic video games. I respect them, I appreciate them, but I'm not necessarily into playing them. And it also fascinates me that there are games on that list that have been. Let me see right in here. Okay. There are games on that list that have been like superseded by what I would think of as superior games in the intervening years. But those new games, they're not the first, right? And so they don't have that same cachet, even though they're technically better. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, just food for thought. It's right. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that sentence kind of dangling there. I'm not even gonna finish it. Right. Brake is off. Engine is off. Let's see what we got. I guess I didn't need to turn the engine off to do this, but I will need to turn it off to hook up. Power generator, yes. Take that job. Yes. Where is it? Looks like straight ahead, maybe? Maybe? Now, I'm going to pull through here. If it's to the left, I'm curious which direction we need to be pointing. You know what I mean? Should I have taken that left behind us and then gone around it clockwise? This is really an amazing area. I'm glad we came out here to pick this up. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like we'll be headed the right way. Okay, cool. I mean, it wouldn't be that big a deal to flip around. Just curious if we were going to need to. All right, so we're going to go over here. All right, not too bad, right in here. Right, neutral, brake, engine. Let's load up, and I don't even see what these things weigh. I don't think they're super, super heavy. All right, might be kind of heavy. All right. Back inside. Brake is off. Put her in gear. Here we go. So yeah, and I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, not a whole lot. I've been, well, everything's on sale. You know that. Everything on Steam is on sale. Like 75 to 90% off. It's crazy. And I realized there aren't that many games in the categories that I play, which is sim gaming. There aren't a ton of games to begin with, and there aren't a ton of new games. Mostly what we've got, we've sort of got. Now there are franchises that get a new game every year, but the YouTubers that I watch, essentially I watch YouTubers that play games that I don't play. Get us out of here first. All right. So we'll go left here and then up the hill. Okay. And what's cool about these the genres that these YouTubers are in is, it seems like there are new games a couple of times a month, right? There's some kind of new something happening. And these are, oh, I took it wide. These are like big important games that people have been waiting for, and $50 million games and things that have been in the works for years, right? It's a big deal. And it seems like those are happening all the time, and for us it's like, nah, not really. We've got, like, what are we into on this channel? Farm sim, 2 truck sims. They're both a bit long in the tooth. Now the farm sim franchise, you can argue, because it's a franchise, right? We do get a new one every 2 years. But truck sim, I mean, these games are just both, they're not old, but they're not new. And then spin tires, right? That's kind of old. Train sim world, 2 years old, but it's replacing another franchise that's many years old. You see what I'm getting at. There aren't new sim game drops happening once a month or twice a month like there are with a lot of other games. So basically what I realized when I was looking around everything that was on sale is there's nothing for me to buy on Steam, which is kind of a weird place to be as a gamer, to realize like all the games that I want, I already have. I was a little bit disappointed by WRC 8 when it was released. I thought it would be better than it was. And we've got a bit of a delay till Automobilista 2. That's been pushed back to spring now, which is fine. But I'm not really, I have to say, I'm not like super into that game either. I've never played it. I'm not saying that I don't like it. I'm not, it's Automobilista, the original Automobilista is available right now. I have no interest in buying it. I'm thinking about buying Automobilista 2. But, if I don't, I don't. Versus other sims, other franchises that as soon as the next one drops, I'll buy it the minute that it's available. So I think there was a point in there somewhere. I may have lost it. There's not a lot of sim games is what I'm saying. I mean, there are. There's probably a few dozen. But when you compare that to other types of games where there are hundreds, literally hundreds of titles in that genre, I don't know. I mean, where does that leave us as sim gamers? I wonder sometimes if the space is as sort of barren. Maybe that's too strong a word. But I wonder if the sim gaming space is, it's the cart before the horse. Are there not a lot of sim games because not a lot of people are into sim gaming? Or are not a lot of people into sim gaming because there aren't a lot of sim games? And I've said before, as awesome as Truck Sim is and as good as this game looks right now and the things that they've done, I mean, I have, for one of the first times in my gaming life since I got back into gaming a couple years ago, I'm running this game with everything as far as graphic settings. I'm running everything jacked, as high as it'll go. And this is a brand new DLC. It's absolutely contemporary. It's not, we can't look at anything in this DLC and say, well, that's from when the developers were just figuring things out or whatever. This is all good to go. I love it. I mean, you know that. But at the same time, realistically, I think we can look at this game and say it's not the prettiest game. It has its moments, but it's not it's not Minecraft, but it's not The Witcher. So does that keep people away from sim gaming? The fact that it's the gameplay itself that we as sim gamers tend to focus on, rather than the immersive sort of look and feel of a game? Because at the other end of the spectrum, you have games that are absolutely gorgeous that suck, and they flop. They don't sell nearly as many copies as they're supposed to. They don't live up to the hype, and they're really disappointing. But they look great, right? Or something like Death Stranding that I'm really enjoying watching, but I have no idea what's going on. I don't know if it's good or bad. I know I like the way it looks, but as far as the game itself, I couldn't tell you because I just have no idea what's going on. I don't know if that makes it a bad game. I don't know. It's pretty though. Definitely easy on the eyes. So yeah, man, gaming. It's a crazy time to be in gaming. It's a crazy time to be alive. I heard a YouTuber the other day. He was kind of oh dear, we gotta get into a good gear. Let's see if we can make it through this light. And we are making a right, so I don't know if they'll give us a ticket, but greens are awfully short in this game. I think we made it. He was playing the new Terminator game, which is, I guess, an indie studio is producing it, and people are a little baffled by that because it's a, the Terminator franchise. You would think, there we go, get my camera centered. You would think the Terminator franchise would go with, a massive studio, and instead they're working with sort of an indie, or at least an indie-sized game developer. And he was talking about Terminator and T2 and how those movies were very analog. I believe both of them still had stop motion photography. And you know what? I hate to do this to this car back here behind us. Sorry, buddy. But we're going to make a left, so let's get over to the left now rather than on the bridge. They had stop motion photography. They had models and wire and miniatures and the way movies used to be made. It doesn't look as good as CGI, although some CGI, to be fair, doesn't look very good either. But he was talking about how those things exist in the physical world, where CGI does not. CGI is just computer code. And I don't think I can exit right. No, I definitely cannot. All right. I need some rerouting here. There we go. So he was sort of lamenting that. He was talking about that, and he said, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna boomer out on you, and talk about how good it was when I was a kid versus how good it is today." And I feel like I'm just the opposite. I really think today is an amazing time, and when I think about history, when I think about at any other time in history, I realized they were thinking exactly the same thing we're thinking now. We've got private space flight ramping up, right? We've got companies building spaceships so that they're going to fly with passengers for money, or they're going to haul cargo for money. We've got private spaceships. That's crazy, right? And they're all futuristic, and they can do all these amazing things. And you got the rockets that land themselves so they can be reused. Oh, it's crazy. And I think, well, people felt the same way about airplanes 100 years ago. 100 years ago, 1919, you go to a county fair or something, and you see your very first airplane ever, right? Like right now, you and I go outside for any reason in any city in North America, any city in Europe, and you're going to see planes flying overhead. It's not a big deal. But in 1919, maybe that's the first time you've ever seen a plane, ever, right? And then the thing starts up and takes off. Right? It's going to blow your mind. It's nothing to us, but it was a big deal then. So that was state of the art. And that's my take on technology is whatever era you're in, state of the art is state of the art. When they put that telegraph cable across the Atlantic, it changed the whole world. Same way the internet has for us. So I don't believe there ever was a golden age, and I don't think there ever was a time when people didn't have and use and misuse state-of-the-art technology. So there's no time that I would rather be alive than right now. And when people say, oh, you know, this was better or that was better, I think very often the phrase boomer out, easy, cotton top, right? Cool your boots. What are you on about? And what they're on about is not that the world was better 30 years ago or 40 years ago. What they're on about is they were better 30 years ago or 40 years ago. And people have been that way forever. I'm pretty sure you can find things from the Greeks about that, from the Romans about that. These kids today, they don't know how good they have it. When I was a kid, people have been saying that forever. And the reason people have been saying that forever is because forever people have been getting old and dying, and that's not something that a lot of people enjoy. And they do tend to think that the way the world was when they were at their best is the best possible world. I disagree. I think today is the best possible world. Mostly because time only moves in one direction, at least as far as we can tell. So if you're going to be alive today, you may as well be into today, because you can't be alive any other time. I also think we've got some personal responsibility to stay at our best. I think it's not fair that there are people who want to hold the world back to the way it was when they were better, when they were different. I don't think that's fair to the rest of us. You know, people got things to do. What do we want to do here? I think we want to get over. We want to go straight. Yeah. And then, oh dear. Okay, so now we got to go down here as well. All right. So we're going to go over here. Man, I think we've been going. Yeah, we're coming up on half an hour. We haven't even left Salt Lake City yet. We may have to pick this up next episode. Yeah, I think we're actually definitely going to have to pick this up next episode. Let's get out of town. Let's at least get out of town. And once we're on the road to Vernal, then we'll go ahead and call it. Yeah, wow, time flies, man. Yeah, this is where we got diverted earlier. Okay, we're good. So we're going to go out here. Here. All right. Beautiful. Well, that was easy. Man, I couldn't imagine being a real truck driver. That would make you crazy, right? You're running late. You're driving all over. You had to go out to some big copper mine to pick up your cargo. And you're finally on your way out of town, and then you hit some kind of traffic incident. You got to loop it all around. Beautiful. Okay. We're on the 80, headed east. Is that correct? That seems to be. I just got to find a place to pull over. I hate to... Oh, trailer stability. I hate to just stop. You know what I mean? I hate to just stop recording while we're still rolling. But if we don't see someplace to pull over up here, I might have to do just that. All right, I see something up here. Ah, okay. I see us exiting, and I believe getting on that little twisty 2 lane. So how about at this stop sign here at the top of the ramp? How about we call it? All right, and I am going to have to block traffic for a minute while I flip around and do a little screenshot. Oh, no stop sign. All right. We're going to keep rolling. Right through here. No traffic. Don't take out the sign. Beautiful. All right. Yep, that's 29 minutes. We're going to have to call it. But we'll pick up from here next week. We'll head into Vernal. And that should take us to, yeah, just about the eastern side of this DLC. And we'll start heading west and try to get down to St. George. There you have it, folks. Thanks for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of American Truck Simulator. We'll see you next time. Take care now.